Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 363rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. Gabe Lewis was hanging around somewhere, ready to bask in his glory. Kownacki getting stopped by the Nordic nightmare Robert Helenius. Gabe's on some run after predicting Fury to stop Yarde. He's disappeared. Hopefully he'll appear again at some point, rapping Rob Kelly. We also expect to come on. Look out in about 15 or 20 minutes time. We have a special guest coming on. Ready to give you an injection of boxing knowledge. Pull the trousers down, bend over everybody. It's Dr. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD. We'll be getting him on as soon as he responds to my WhatsApp messages. Glad that you can all be with us on Sunday evening. Boxing Asylum, mixler.com in fact, /Boxing Asylum from 8 p.m. The Patreon RSS feed shortly after. Catch us on Mondays, as I always say, on YouTube, iTunes, Apple Podcast, they call it these days apparently, and Soundcloud. Let's get straight rumbling on, shall we, Ozzy? Scott Quigg against John O'Carroll. I thought John O'Carroll would win this fight, but I didn't expect it to be quite as one-sided as it was. Scott Quigg just looked like a lumbering zombie going around there. Looked like he was suffering from the old coronavirus, getting his face bashed in round after round. A non-puncher like John O'Carroll was able to inflict a lot of damage. Quigg has seen better days. Carroll is a lot fresher than his opponent, and he was well worth the win. Should the towel have been thrown in a bit earlier? That's the only main question that I have.
The younger, fresher, fitter fighter was far superior than him. Quigg had no answer to Carroll's skills, but he struggled with the southpaw stance. And in reality, I didn't see how Carroll got cut, actually. I couldn't work out if it was one of the very few punches that Quigg did land, or it may have been a clash of heads. But for me, I thought the corner work, particularly from Joe Gallagher, was very poor. I put a tweet out last night saying it's like he's ashamed or extremely reluctant to throw in the towel, and it's like an ego thing for him. We've seen it before when you watch Marcus Morrison get an absolute beatdown off Jason Wellborn, and it's fights like that can destroy a fighter and take like a hell of a lot of miles off the clock. And we saw it last night, and I saw something. Well, Quigg wasn't, he wasn't getting hurt, but he was taking sustained shots. And sometimes that can be worse than, getting wiped out by one big right hand or a big left hand. Quigg got battered, to put it bluntly. He got absolutely battered. And while he may have been pissed off at the towel being thrown in, I think every fighter's pretty much pissed off when the towel gets thrown in. It was late for me. Fortunately, it didn't dictate any of the results or anything like that. John O'Carroll moves on. It's a good win for him, an emphatic win, and it's going to be interesting to see where they match him next. I've no doubt they'll look for some sort of potential world title eliminator, moving him up the levels again. As for Scott Quigg, he's done the right thing. He said he's not stupid, he's not clueless. And he's called time on his career immediately, and I don't see him reversing that decision, after watching the fight back and things like that. He said after 3 rounds he knew it wasn't there, and he's done exactly that, and he'll walk away with he's had a decent career and one that he can be proud of.
Well said, Ozzy. Yeah, sorry everybody there. You might have missed the first 30 seconds of what Ozzy was saying because I had the wrong audio link button clicked. But what Ozzy said, I guess you'll never ever know. That's disappeared off into the ether. Gabe has joined us here. Shout out to everybody in the chat as well. Just under 5,000 listeners currently joining us on Sunday evening. Hamed is there, Tosh, Paul, Who else have we got? Take Ames was seen floating about in the chat room as well. Swaggy, Taggy, MB, JG, all the boys flying about there. Andy Patterson's with us as well. Do you think Ozzy touched upon something there, Andy, which we heard, I don't know if the listeners did, but a lot of his natural advantages, physical advantages, came literally from that. When he was at super bantamweight, he was basic, but he was physically strong. He could punch. He was able to bully people. Whenever he stripped the layers away, and he's up at super featherweight now, he hasn't got those physical advantages anymore. He's just a basic robotic boxer. Add on the miles of nearly 40 fights as well, and that's just what you see is what you get with Quig.
Basically, I mean, you need to factor in as well as he spent the best part of his career at super bantamweight, hard spars. That's the other thing as well. I don't know when he'd ended his link up with Freddie Roach now, but you can just imagine the kind of sparring sessions he'd be getting there at the wild card and that. I mean, it's no tactical sparring over there. It's like it's full blooded. So that's
dog,
adding
isn't it?
miles.
Yeah.
What? You say, coming up and that, he'd obviously had, like, say, the size and leverage over, like, say, Diego Silva and remember some African guy, Stephen Jamoy, these type of people. I know the Japanese guy fought had a hand problem, and obviously the big moment came against Frampton where he's taken more damage, broken jaw. And in the end, I suppose it's just he's been forced to move up in weight after that. I mean, boiling himself. I remember being at the weigh-in for the Frampton fight, literally like 15 feet from him, and he looked like a ghost. And same with Frampton, mind you, but Quig especially so. But as Ozzy says as well, he's had a decent career, made some decent poppy, I suppose. Tried his luck over in America. Didn't work for him with the Valdez fight, and that again another damaging fight for him. Punishment wise and stuff, and probably there, even though with the comeback fight in Boston and that, he's been out of the ring for long enough now to probably know where he's at. I think he kind of knew himself before he's in there. Then he's obviously had his training camp. He's went into the fight. He's knew pretty early and stuff. But this would be word on Joe Gallagher and that. I think some people were saying last night that Anthony Crawler was kind of forcing him to try and throw the towel in. They gave him the towel at the time, and Joe kind of hung on for a wee bit longer. So I seen him caught him a wee bit of shit for that. But I think he could have been pulled out way before that. If he's saying that he knew in the third round he had nothing left, it was pointless him going on because he had nothing there. I mean, as you say, he plodded forward. Carroll was very, very, very good at the size advantage and stuff, and I expected to go the distance. But fair play to Carroll for getting the stoppage and stuff. But I just thought he had nothing there, and it's just for his own goodness. We see it with Joe all the time in that. If his own comment, Joe says, if you want it less than what I do, then we've got a problem. Just the guy should have been pulled out. Probably, I don't know, round 6, round 7. Absolutely nothing left, and he says he can probably hold his head up high in that. But he's a decent career, but hopefully doesn't return his decision on that one. But Gallagher needs a bit up the arse for what he did there last night.
Yeah, I was saying on Twitter last night, a bit tongue-in-cheek, but I do believe it. If they'd have gone to Gallagher in the corner, I honestly believe he would have maybe not said that he had Quig up, but he would have said it was a close fight. This is the guy who had Crawler even with Linares, and then Linares shoe shine the last 2 rounds. I honestly believe that Gallagher's thought process, could be wrong, show me the video, IFL, Boxing Social, whatever, if he's saying otherwise, but I would imagine if they'd have gone to him in the corner and said, you're not thinking about pulling him out, he would have said that he thought it was close, or maybe Quig had a puncher's chance. He would have had some reasoning for letting the fight go on. I do strongly believe that. Gabe, I don't know if you got a chance to see Scott Quigg, his demise against John O'Carroll. I know you're a DAZN subscriber. I'm assuming they showed it over in the States.
Yeah, they did. I didn't catch much of it. I had to go do some other things, but from what I understand, it was pretty much the end of Quigg. I mean, he's been in some pretty tough battles. And him getting knocked out last night seems like it should be, at this point, probably the icing on the cake and time to hang it up, I would assume. I mean, he's not getting anywhere in his last few fights of any real meaning. I mean, yeah, he went life and death with Oscar Valdez, and it was a brutal fight, but he's just obviously, with his size advantage in that fight, saved him. Otherwise, I think Valdez would have took him out. But Valdez doesn't seem to be a huge puncher either. I mean, certainly he hits strong enough to stop plenty of people. But, I don't have much I can say about this fight since I didn't see but a few minutes of it. I just from seeing knowing that it was a knockout, I don't think it would be wise of Quig to carry on much longer.
It wasn't just a knockout, Gabe. It was a beating. You know, he was just taking punishment round after round and unable to throw anything back. Really,
looked like he couldn't get off.
Yeah.
That's usually a bad sign. I mean, I think if you look at a lot of fighters when they're near the end, they say along the same lines. That's a common phrase, is that they can't find a way to get their punches off. And I don't know why that is exactly. Obviously, never having been a long-time professional of any substance at all, and get to the fucking end of my career, I wouldn't have any input on why that is. It just seems to me like it's kind of a common thing. It doesn't happen to everyone, but you hear plenty of older fighters, guys that have gotten on up there in number of fights they've had. That's what they say. They just couldn't get their punches off, and so it's usually not a good sign whenever that happens. And especially for Quig to take like you said, a beating and get knocked out in 2 rounds. I mean, if we're talking about 5-6 years ago, does Quig get beat down and stopped in 2 rounds? Maybe it depends on who he's fighting, but
he got stopped in 11 rounds. Like it was 11 rounds, Gabe.
Yeah, certainly. My thought doesn't. I don't think of Quig as a fragile kind of guy. So for him to get punished for 2 rounds and stopped is, that's another thing. I think it's a bad sign. Probably time for him to say his farewells and get on down the line.
Let's get out of here, Hamed.
Yep, agree with you there, Gabe. Hamed is in the chat. Missed the skyboxing, only saw the highlights of Kownacki. He says no sign of Jason Chukwu just yet. We'll keep you informed, obviously, as and when Mr. Chukwu appears. Rapping Rob Kelly's on the call, coming to him shortly. On the undercard then, Ozzy. The undercard, I was saying last week this was a good show. Smido was giving me pelters rightly last night for saying that. It melted quicker than a Tunnocks in front of the heater, didn't it? Zach Parker getting a knockout win in the 11th round against Rowan Murdock. Hughie Fury against Pavel Sauer. That was shite, wasn't it? Anthony Fowler was supposed to fight Jack Flatley. He ended up with this character, Mr. Tete, instead. Jack Cullen was on the card. Robbie Davis Jr. was on the card. Scott Fitzgerald wasn't on the card.
Please, let's talk about that fight for a sec.
Go on, Oz.
Honestly, I've actually seen it once. Happen with a fighter where he's sliding all over the fucking place, and they actually take out a Swiss Army knife, kid you not, in the ring and try and slice up and retread his fucking boxing boots in the middle of the fucking ring. Right, when that failed, they then tried the tape back to front. Right, that fucking failed as well. What an embarrassment that was last night, by the way.
It was a shambles, an absolute shambles. Theophilus Tete comes over with this fucking padded record. You get this fucking. Oh, he fought John Ryder. Yeah, back in 2014. 6 years ago, he had his fight. He had a fight in 2015, and then took 4 years off. So I mean, they're giving him credit for flying over. Fuck that. I know it was short notice, but someone like Anthony Fowler shouldn't be in the ring with him, and it was a disgrace. It was like Bambi on ice. He couldn't do it. He just couldn't stand up. I mean, Fowler gains nothing from it. Absolutely nothing for it. He just gets paid.
Wasted training camp. I mean, he would need a training camp for that fight, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, literally.
And he's made weight for that as well. What's the point? He's just fucking tearing a bit out his career. Doesn't need to do. Shite. It
was absurd to watch. Hughie Fury, yeah. I mean, they made a big deal of this Pavel Sauer because he pulled out on that Monaco show. He was crap as well. Looked to plant his feet a bit more, got his shots off, but it's hard to judge against fighters of that caliber because they're so far, they're so basic, and Fury's levels above. The one thing I'd like to say about Fury is I hope he's progressed much slower now. I think there was this obsession, with trying to fast track him to world level after seeing what Tyson Fury did, but Tyson Fury was never fast tracked. He did he did his apprenticeship on the way up, had his tough fights, fought the necessary opponents. And this is what they should do with Hughie Fury now. There is no rush. He's probably above domestic level now, so I understand that. But moving forward, you would like to see him, like hover around, like the fringe European level, get 2 or 3 fights in, and then look to progress, providing he wins. Trying to fast track him again up to world level is pointless, and we've seen him, against Pulev and Povetkin. He's just not at that level at the moment. Could he get there? Possibly, but at the moment he's a level below that, and he needs to learn on the job and get the necessary fights in. Thought the chief support, Parker Murdock, was quite good actually. Murdock was a lot better than I thought he was. And I thought it was relatively close up until around 7 rounds in. Then I felt Parker, took over, and it was an emphatic finish. I got told that Parker broke a rib in there early on in the fight and carried on. So he's got balls, Zach Parker. I mean, we saw him against Daryl Williams, where he dislocated his shoulder and boxed with one arm, and he did get basically a shocking decision. But the guy's battled through there with a broken rib, and we know how painful that can be, and what a problem causer it can be as well. And the way he dispatched Murdock was excellent. I mean, apparently it puts him as mandatory for a shot at the 168 super middleweight belt. I wouldn't say Zach Parker's at that level yet, and by no means I don't see him getting a shot anytime soon with the Canelo fight looming for Billy Joe Saunders. And if Canelo does beat Billy Joe Saunders, then Zach Parker's certainly not going to get that fight as well. But overall, I mean, I'm quite surprised, Steve, you said this was a good card, because it was garbage. It was
originally
appalling.
Fowler was supposed to fight Flatley, Fitzgerald was supposed to be on it, and Michalkin was down to fight Callum Johnson, was it?
Callum Johnson.
No.
Callum Johnson. It was a European title.
What, like Michael Flatley?
So all that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, the European title. Well, that's been moved to the Dillian White show in Manchester now.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, it said it all. That Tete guy for Fowler, I couldn't work. It was like he was pissed. Like skidding around and things like that. He just couldn't get his foot in. I mean, for me, he shouldn't be paid. He's gone into the ring with inappropriate footwear that isn't suitable and clearly not suitable. It's an absolute joke when I saw that. It was laughable. I had mates texting me saying, like, what the fuck is this on my TV? And these are like casual fans. These aren't, your hardcore boxing fans. These are casuals. So if they're seeing it, I wonder what the spin doctor Adam Smith thought when he was there in his little commentary seat. He must have thought it was laughable. And good on Andy Clark as well, basically saying it was laughable and a bit of a mockery, because all too often that'll get swept under the carpet with home TV commentators. But he had to call it for what it is. But at least he did call it for what it is and didn't try and, patch it up and say, oh, he just wasn't up to the level. He just said it was an absolute mockery of the game.
The only thing Tete should be doing. Go to Adam Bowes.
Yeah. Bet you boo, they'd love the well-known Theophilus Tete, now 19-8. He'll be seeking out that Fowler rematch as well. Get about the beef.
I've seen that before, David Mohan tweeted me in last night. I'd forgotten about it. There was a guy named called Michael Barnor, came down to the Devonish in Belfast once, and he was the same. He was like ice skates, and in the end, I think they ended up wrapping like masking tape around to try and get a bit of grip on his boots. That's how bad he was. So it must be, I don't know, the type of boots they're wearing or something. It's obviously not proper grip, canvas grip shoes. That's all I can imagine.
It'd have been best in a pair of trainers.
I was just going to say that.
Pair of Carrymores.
No. In Scotland, a pair of Sambas.
Mate, get the
Carrymores, man, Dave Allen style.
Get the Dave Allen Carrymore trainers out. He's gone missing now. He's missing in action. So let's get the Alan Carrymores out. I think Tete could have won the fight if he'd had those on.
Do you think Carrymore dropped the ball by not trying to sponsor Barrymore at some stage, or no?
I heard he was at some state on that one of the TV shows, so they wanted to invite him.
Yeah. Waterproof boots.
Oh, fuck. It looked like a fetus with alcohol poisoning, man.
Wrapping Rob Kelly there, you can hear in the background, everybody. Rob, what about John O'Carroll? getting the job done against your man, Scott Big Dig Quig. Is this the last of Quig?
If you need to flee the scene urgently when there's been a possible rape or death at your house, be like Barrymore. Get some Carrymores. Jono, yeah, I thought Jono was boxed lovely all night. Absolutely lovely. I think you can see the difference that it's made. As Smitho mentioned last week, that he's been kind of in partnership with Tevin Farmer and learning from him, sparring with him, training out in Philadelphia. I thought he looked a different fighter completely last night, to be honest with you. I don't want to heap too much praise on him because I thought he'd have some questions to answer in the fight and that Quig would cause him some problems. But apart from round 2, Quig looked shot to shit. Looked like he had nothing in the tank. Now, not taking anything away from John O'Carroll, I thought he did everything right last night. I think the power is going to be an issue for him when he's moving up to world level. I don't know if there's that many world champions in that division that he can beat fighting like that without a bit of a dig. And it took him, a combination of Joe Gallagher's ego and fucking John O'Carroll's lack of punching power made sure that the fight went to the 11th round. But Quig was there for the taking. Any puncher gets him out of there around the 8th round. But what the fuck Joe Gallagher was thinking by not throwing the towel, not pulling him out after the 8th, 9th round, and then to say, oh, he showed us something in the 10th round. Showed you what? That he took 1 or 2 less shots than he took for the rest of the fucking fight. He was getting a head pinged off him last night. And those fights are actually more damaging. He referenced afterwards last night that, John O'Carroll's not a big puncher. We've all grown up on, Corrales Castillo. Corrales Castillo happens once every 30, 40 years, dude. Fellas die in the ring every fucking couple of months these days. What the fuck do you want from him? Like, he's losing the fight on all cards. He's miles behind. He hadn't looked like hurting O'Carroll for the whole fight. He looked like he had nothing else, like a shell of his former self. And at the end, it's Crawler pleading for Joe Gallagher to throw in the towel. What's going on in his mind, I don't know. Now, he gets enough stick. I mentioned this before, and I never go down that road with him again. Once he mentioned his kid and always getting stick at school, I don't think that's right. There's a reason all the comments are turned off on the IFL video, and I just think that's maybe a step too far. But he doesn't help himself, Joe Gallagher, does he? Like, he comes out and gives these interviews afterwards, and instead of, first of all, he's taking the credit for throwing in the towel when anybody with eyes could see that it's Crawler making him throw the towel in or encouraging him to throw the towel in, saying that was the time. Secondly, then he's trying to sell it like, as if it could be potential Mickey Ward Gaddy, Corrales Castillo. It was a fucking one-sided beatdown. And those fights where the fella can't punch are actually more harmful to the guy on the receiving end, because a fella with a punch can knock you out, put you to sleep, and you get to fight another day. But that accumulation of taking shot after shot after shot, round after round, was unnecessary, and it was a bit harsh on Scott Quigg, to be honest with you. I thought after the career he's had, what does he need to prove himself to John O'Carroll for an extra 3 or 4 rounds? I would have pulled him out. But everybody's a coach, everybody's got an opinion, but that's just my opinion. I think John O'Carroll can potentially go on the world level and win something, but the lack of power is going to be a factor there, definitely. Because I don't think he's that slick either. He showed signs of slickness last night. I don't think he's that slick fighter, but definitely improved, definitely showed improvements, and looked a better fighter last night than he has in the past. So,
well said, Rob. I was just about to say that we have Dr. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD on the line, but he seems to have disappeared. So I'm going to have to ring him back up again. Let's just cut the pretense, shall we, and do this shit live. Let's see if we can get the doctor back on the line right now. Let's give him a call. Going out live, episode 363.
Good day, Mr. Steve.
This is going well so far. Evening, Joseph.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you, sir?
Yeah, fine. Thank you for asking.
No problem. We have a packed chat room ready to hear from you, Joseph. We'll get straight on if you're ready and good to go.
Oh, yeah?
Excellent.
I'm fired up.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about the big heavyweight fight that took place recently between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Fury winning by 7th round KO. What is your assessment of that fight, Joseph?
Oh, yeah. To start with, thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
DAZN is the fan boxer. But the only thing that I see in him is for him to stop trash talking and be serious. He came into the game and fought accordingly. And most of the times, a weight might be a problem, like it was a problem for Andy Ruiz. But that day, he fought fearlessly and executed the plan concisely and precisely. That was why he stopped wider. I know you are consistent with my tweeting, my Twitter page. I had warned wider Deontay that he lacked boxing fundamentals. He didn't have the basics, but the right hand worked. But I told him a time will come when he will meet a fine boxer, the straight right might not work. That was exactly what happened. So I give kudos to Tyson Fury.
So, Joseph, Tyson Fury appears to be the consensus number one heavyweight in the world. Would you say Fury is number one, or is it Anthony Joshua who's number one?
Now is number one. Why? Because he had never lost. And let me say something quickly, Steve.
Yeah.
Prior to the loss that Anthony Joshua secured, recorded, I warned him a day prior to that bout that business supposed to be business. But he thought it's going to be walk in the park because he underestimated Andy Ruiz. That was why he lost, because when he saw the guy releasing, unloading the boxing fundamentals, Joshua was flabbergasted. He was surprised. So he had no answers to Ruiz's superb boxing IQ and imagination. So the second time, I wrote many things that day before the second fight in Riyadh. So he went back on board and changed his style. That was why he defeated Andy. So now, Tyson Fury is number one in the world.
You mentioned there the fact that Tyson Fury is undefeated. No man has been able to defeat him yet, but you were coming up on Twitter recently with a strategy to beat Tyson Fury. How would you do it? Because you are a former professional yourself.
Yes. See, some boxers feared his waving and bobbing style. Ali was the first person that propounded that style, followed by Smoking Joe Frazier. If I were to fight him, if I was supposed to fight him, number one, I would fight in my natural weight. I won't lose weight because weight counts. Number two, I will feint him before I use my right, my straight right. Then I will jab consistently, double jab, papa, 1, 2, papa, 1, 2. So you got to. I will be busy. I won't give him any breathing space. And also, when he to dasu, what I will do is that I feint him, and I will use straight line, right. Then also, I will use uppercut. And I will have profound stamina, because stamina counts. You see why was found out precisely around 2 rounds or the 3rd round. because he underestimated Tyson. So the only way to beat Tyson is for you to get busy and jab, because jab is leading. When you jab consistently, you disorganize the planning of your opponent, and when you use that jab, it will create opening for you to use your combination, to use your straight right. But boxers, they are looking for one punch that will knock out their opponent. No, you have to stick to boxing fundamentals and basics.
Joseph, couple of final questions for you before we let you go. Andy, one of our regular contributors, was asking for the potential of a video in front of the garage of showing how Anthony Joshua how to slip a jab. Can you make a video on Twitter by any chance, please?
Oh yeah, I will find time to do that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
MB was asking you as well, Doctor. What about okra soup? Do you think Deontay Wilder could benefit from some okra soup?
Yeah, you see, Deontay Wilder is going to Nigeria now. It is very pertinent and important for somebody to visit his food. So okra is good because it helps those people that have a sugar problem, and then more so, you empty your bowl easily. So that is why I recommended okra soup. And AJ loves what do you call it? Egusi, that is melon soup.
Yeah.
With eba, staple cassava flour.
Doctor, what about Efia Jagba? Have you seen much of him?
No, I don't like him.
Oh, why?
Yeah, I don't like the guy. And you see, why I didn't like him, he detests my boy, AJ.
Oh.
And you see, I want boxers to love each other, not to offend them, because we are into the same business. But I didn't know why he detested AJ. I just don't know. And this guy is up and coming. At least he has never done something great in boxing. So I don't know why. You should detest AJ. And also, you see, I don't want to bring in race. But at least this is a fellow Nigerian. I read it somewhere where he said Anthony Joshua is not from Nigeria. I said, wow, this guy is a stark illiterate. Because Anthony Joshua's pedigree emanated from Nigeria. So why should he have said that? That's number one. Number two, let me tell you something. The guy has many things to learn in boxing. He's so rigid. He relies on steroids. I have not watched his previous, his recent bout with the guy that he fought. But if he should meet people like Tyson, AJ, in fact, he will know that he's in this kindergarten boxing.
Doctor, how close do you think we are to having a big heavyweight title fight in Africa? People keep mentioning it, but it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, come again. I didn't get it.
How close do you think we are to having a big heavyweight title fight in Africa, whether it's Wilder or Joshua, maybe in Nigeria or something? Do you think it's close?
Oh, yeah. But if they want to promote boxing, we are close. But now, Eddie Han will want to go to Saudi Arabia, because boxing is a sport, and at the same time, it is a business. So it depends on the offer. If the offer is large and big, well, we might see a big heavyweight champion bout in Nigeria or in Africa, like Ali did in Sari, Kinshasa.
And do you have any moral opposition towards Saudi Arabian fights?
No, only what I want them to do is to change their primitive principles and ideas, laws of killing people. Human right, they have to adhere to human right if they want people to come to their nation. Because I don't criticize religion, but they have to update the Islamic fundamentals. So they have to work on human right.
What about Tyson Fury's gloves, Doctor? Do you think there was something going on there? People have suggested there were dodgy gloves in the Fury versus Wilder fight.
That one is just is dead medication after death.
No, you're not having that, no?
No. I don't believe in that.
No.
He defeated Deontay. Deontay should come up with the high horse and stop being cocky. He's prideful, and being a boxer, I believe that boxing is supposed to instill discipline into boxers. It is not where you trash talk. That is when people will come and watch your bout. No, you must be level-headed. You have to be disciplined, and you show the world that boxers are not criminals. So to me, he has many things to do. And there's one thing I want to chip in, Dave.
Yeah.
The boxers, even the leading champions, I want to correct something, one notion. They used to say, even Mayweather too, said that boxing, the science of boxing is to hit people and not be hit. That is wrong. When you punch the punching bag, the punching bag will not punch you back. But if you fight with a human being, the tendency is there for that person to hit you. So the only thing you have to do is to protect yourself, execute the game plan. You have to parry, you have to weave, bob, and use the exact punches. So for a boxer to think that they will not beat him or they will not hit him, that is out of it. So I want them to change that notion. You should not allow your opponent to hit you where you will go down and be knocked out. So that is my advice to them.
Well, well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Okay.
Yeah. Final question. Gabe is asking you, did you like Samuel Peter? Do you remember him, the Nigerian Nightmare?
I have, you see, unless I check his DAZN, because now we have many boxers, but we are concentrating on Tyson Fury, AJ, Wilder, and some guys in England too, the up and coming heavyweight champion. So I will check his DAZN and I will watch his clips, so I'll be able to say, because when I watch what a boxer is doing, I'll be able to suggest whether he will adjust or is going to stay or with a style, because at times makes a fight.
Well said, Dr. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD, everybody. Thanks, Joseph. Any closing comments?
The closing comment is that I want to say something about what Bob Aaron said. I tweeted sometimes that he is supposed to retire now. Yeah, because he's not helping the sport boxing. He's being sentimental. Any boxer that is not under his table, he likes to run those boxers down. It's not helping the sport of the boxing and the business. say the truth. It does not matter, because the truth is universal, and they have mandate that the judges should do refresher.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Well said. Thanks for joining us, Doctor. Yeah. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime, Steve.
Thanks very much. I'm sure the people at home have enjoyed this.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
Have a good day now. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, bye.
There you go, Dr. Joseph Adjeo, THD, PhD. He had a lot of interesting things to say.
You asked, we delivered.
People are asking, Andy, on Facebook and Twitter to get the doctor on. I've brought him on for you. There you go.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's I actually gave the wife a shout to get the cookbook out to see if he had a wee note of that soup that he was recommending there. Must try and locate such ingredients. I can imagine going down to the local fucking vegetable van and stuff like that. I need some fucking Ghanaian food. Fuck off! Don't be ridiculous. Jesus Christ.
I like his views on Saudi Arabia. Do you have any moral objection, Dr. Joseph? No, I just think they should stop killing people. He's a good lad, though, isn't he, Dr. Joseph? I like him, man. He's a good character.
There you go. People asking, we delivered. Let's move on, everybody, shall we, very swiftly to the Barclays Centre in Brooklyn. Only one man to go to on this. Gabriel Lewis. Adam Kownacki, I know he's a big fat blob, Kownacki, but I thought he would have enough to outwork Robert Helenius. Helenius battered him, knocked him down and out in round 4. He just looked out of shape, Kownacki. I know that's a silly thing to say, Gabe, because he always looks out of shape, but he looked even more out of shape this time, and he couldn't take the punches of the big man. Another great white hype job has been exposed and defeated. Robert Helenius motors on towards a world title shot, who knows?
Woo! I'm having a tremendous start to the year. Hopefully we can keep it rolling for a little while. I might need to start placing some fucking bets. Actually, that fight, I was... It's a good thing for Helenius it ended when it did. If it would have gone on too long, Kownacki was going to catch him, and he was going to put him down. I thought that Kownacki looked like he was doing okay when Helenius stopped against the ropes, and he wasn't putting his jab out, but I think that's a little bit more of a lack of a reaction to his particular fighting style. He's kind of from the I guess the Klitschko era style of fighters where the activity wasn't as high and there weren't as guys that were. I mean, we're talking about professional athletes here. So when you say they're not as athletic, we're not saying they're not athletic, period. They're maybe not as athletic as some other guys. I mean, you have guys like Wilder, Fury, AJ. Doctor would be pretty pissed if I left him off. Frank Sanchez, who was on the card last night, seemed like he's got a little bit of athletic ability. But he's more of like a stand-up kind of guy, more of that Eastern European style. And he's not going to be an active fighter because he tends to run out of gas in his most recent fights. That being said, though, when he was moving, fat Kownacki couldn't keep up with him. He couldn't get his feet set into good position, and it would be similar to if Helenius was throwing a jab and mixing up some punches here and there and not really stopping too much. It would look a lot like, to me, AJ and Ruiz too, but he was stopping on the ropes. So Kownacki had opportunities to stop him and to hurt him or to make him slow down a little bit. But he was just throwing some punches, and I think maybe the size differential, him swinging up probably didn't help him too much. But Helenius landed just a peach of a punch to put him down. First it was rolled as a slip, but it was clearly a punch. But in that particular little scenario, they were trading punches back and forth. So it was kind of one of those deals, whichever guy landed first was going to do damage right there. And it just happened to be Helenius. And so then after the knockdown, Helenius polishes him off, knocks him down again, and then finishes the fight. I was really excited to see that, and that was kind of, what I saw of Robert Helenius a long time ago, whenever he was still an active guy, and whenever he was in the picture for some sort of contender positioning, and that's what he was looking like whenever we saw him over here in the States. I think there was an old movie channel, and he was getting shown on Epix, is what it was. He was getting shown on Epix some, and then he was gone. He just disappeared. So it was good to see him come back with a good fight and to get a victory. He looked like he was in a little bit better shape last night than he has been previously as well. He wasn't. He's never going to be a guy that's shredded to the gills. Always just a big guy, but certainly not flabby. And he managed to get the win. So another good fight, I thought. The rest of the card wasn't too bad, though. Frank Sanchez was kind of boring. He was fighting that Joey. What is that guy's name? Joey Jecko. And
yeah.
That was fucking rubbish. He should have polished that guy off early in the fight, but he didn't, and he was content to just box for a decision. And then our Ajagbo, Effie Ajagba. How the fuck do you say it?
Ajagba.
Yeah, I always call him Ajagbo. Ajagba. Let's see if I can get it fucking straight here. Ajagbo also pretty content to box his way to a victory up until the very end, and then his accumulation of punches finally got him the win. So if you were a fan of heavyweight boxing, it wasn't maybe like a superb night, but it wasn't a poor night. You got 3 big heavyweight fights on there of 3 guys that were undefeated. You still got 2 of those guys undefeated, and it's looking like they have a nice little setup of heavyweight fighters in the PVC now. So could make things a little more interesting in the big picture overall, instead of having just our few top 3 or 4 that we've been crowing about for years. So if these guys can keep developing and keep getting better, then could provide some good potential matchups later on down the line.
Yeah, Lee IFL Frotch in the chat says Kownacki beat Martin. Both of them beat Washington. Washington beat Helenius, who smoked Kownacki. So talk about, I don't know, what would that be, a hexagonal theory or something? It's all going off, isn't it? To think that Kownacki was actually being lined up for Deontay Wilder if Wilder had beaten Fury. That's what they were looking to do next, so there you go. Lee is also talking, that's not Dave on the call, that's Gabe Lee. So you may be getting a bit confused there. Andy, what about you? Did you see anything of this one? The Nordic Nightmare back with a bang?
Yeah, I caught that fight. It was the only fight I caught in the card. Should have been accredited with the first knockdown. 3 good punches landed. Again, okay, puts himself into a position for a title fight and stuff, but I still think he could maybe make a big money fight back in Sweden with likes of Otto Wallin, for example. He's probably needing an opponent as well, because let's just be frank about it, if he does get the call at some point to fight whoever the Panamanian belt holder it is he's got the mandatory position for, is it Joshua would punch holes in him in 2 rounds without doubt. So maybe he goes with the Trevor Bryant winner against Manny Char or whatever and stuff, but he's done well for himself. He's carved it out. Obviously he had that kind of semi-rise to prominence. He kind of falls away and stuff, but he's come back and he's got some decent wins under his belt now. I had to laugh at Brian Kenny there last night and stuff when he says he's making some good company. Here's the names of the opponents that he's beat at ex-world champions and stuff, and they put up Sergey Lyakovich, Samuel Peter, and I forget who the third one is off the top of my head at the minute. I'm saying to myself, fucking hell, Sammy Peter and Lyakovich were way past their primes by that point and stuff, but still, at the same time, I'm happy for Gabe. He's the Oracle, so I'm going to go for 3 for next week. In fact, there's nothing on next week, is there? Stevenson, that about it.
There's frig all, but Andy, you were mentioning the Panamanians there. Danny Robson Twitter tagged both of us in, didn't he, earlier, about Super Champ Pacquiao, regular champ Vesputin, Gold Champ Ortiz Jr., and this is on top of them adding a was it an interim WBA super middleweight title fight between David Morrell Jr. and Lennox Allen, two fighters who should be fighting for world titles if ever you heard them. It's not news, is it, Andy? But the WBA are a big frigging bunch of shithouses.
Yeah, heavyweight, cruiserweight. I've got 4 titleists. I'm sure there was a fight in Russia there last night. It was for one of the gold belts as well. Super middleweight's got 3. It's just a fucking shambles, man. It's just money for all rope, just to give them the privilege to get a belt and call himself the world champion, I suppose, but it's just fake.
Ozzy, I don't know how much you saw of this American card, but perhaps Kownacki could maybe slim down to cruiserweight and fight another brutal Deontay Wilder victim, Gregor Spilka, who was fighting at cruiserweight over the weekend. In reality, Kownacki was shit. You probably agree with me. We all knew he was shit, but we thought that he would at least have enough to deal with Helenius. Ozzy?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I agree. He was just a fat mess last night. Looked fat as a pig. Big slobby belly bulging over his shorts. And he got bullied by the Nordic Nightmare. And in reality, if he was remotely decent, he would have dispatched of Helenius with relative ease. I mean, fuck me, this guy was getting knocked out by Gerald Washington 2 fights ago, who we've just seen get absolutely battered by Charles Martin. So, I mean, look, that win for Helenius. Now, Kownacki was ranked highly in, I think, 3 of the 4 governing bodies. So, Helenius will pick up a decent... I think he was ranked top 5 in every governing body. And I'm sure something mentioned that they were lining up a potential Martin Kownacki fight as well as, looking at an eliminator for a world title, IBF. So, I mean, fuck me, we could see Helenius as a potential mandatory to Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua or Pulev if he wins. It's laughable, really. I mean, I'd take Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois to wipe these clowns out, particularly that fat mess Kownacki as well. He just didn't know. He didn't know like what to. When he got caught, he didn't know what to do. I thought he was gifted conveniently. He got away with the first knockdown when the referee ruled it as a slip. Clearly wasn't. Helenius landed two or three good shots there to drop him, and then from that, I mean, he just couldn't recover, and he couldn't recover because he was hurt, because he was put on his arse. He'll no doubt come back. He's got a following over there. I mean, you could hear a pin drop when the referee waved it off, so he clearly carries decent support. What level he'll get to, I'm not really too sure. So who knows, really? I don't see him slimming down to cruiserweight either to fight Spilka. And apparently with Steve last night, he copped. He was basically gifted a decent decision last night as well. Spilka against that cruiserweight.
Shevchenko or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it downloaded, but I haven't watched it yet. What about this then, Rob? Adam Kownacki against Andy Ruiz Jr. They could come back and fight one another. It could be this year's Conrad Lamb versus Ignacio Esparza.
Yeah, Battle of the Bellies. It can be dubbed that. Battle of the Bellies.
Yeah, fucking hell, man. Kownacki is fucking dog shit, isn't he? Like, I don't like Hall of Fighters dog shit, but like, I've said it for years. Like, outside the top 4 heavyweights, 5 heavyweights, the further you go down that list, they're getting worse, and like there's a massive disparity, I'd say, between the top 5 and the bottom 5 in the top 10 heavyweights. I mean, fucking Oscar Rivas is still in there. Oscar Rivas, Kownacki. I mean, surely Chisora's not far off a fucking top 10 spot, legitimately, based on those guys. Like, you've got I hope Charles Martin, Gerald Washington, Kownacki, and Helenius and all of them get together and beat the shit out of each other, and I don't have to see any of them. Because as exciting as the finish was last night, Helenius is murder to watch. Absolute murder. He came in shape, I suppose, and used his attributes, but fuck me, even the technique, like, it's not easy on the eye watching that, like, is it? Even though it's exciting, like, from a knockout perspective, the technique from the two of them. Where's the jabs? Like, no fucking, like, the top heavyweights absolutely obliterate the bottom tier heavyweights in the top 10. I don't think there's anyone.
Did you not see the first fucking minute of the round one, Robert? There was plenty of jabs. Robert was using a beautiful jab and backing them off.
Beautiful, yeah. It's really poetry in motion shit from Robert Helenius. Well, Robert Helenius disagrees. I think it's, I don't know, man. I think the top 5 heavyweights absolutely obliterate the bottom tier top 10 heavyweights. The heavyweight division is devoid of good fighters. It just is. I mean, we're blessed with Tyson Fury, and he lives in an era where he has nemesis like Wilder and Joshua, and those guys are good fighters. Luis Ortiz, you'd give it to him, but after that, I mean, Dillian White's the fucking number. You know what I mean? He's hardly fucking Joe Fraser, is he? Dillian White, like, he's got himself into a good position, but like, absolute stinkers of fights he's after being involved with. One against Helenius. So I don't want to just go over all ground, but like, the heavyweight division, outside the couple of exciting guys that there is, the rest of them are fucking shite. Like, shite.
What about a Jagba or Frank Sanchez foray, Rob? You're not getting up for them on the PBC?
I'm interested to see where Dubois goes. I like the look of him. I've heard Joe Joyce saying now that he's going to apply the Tyson Fury style and just back him up and make him fight on the back foot, take that punch away. So I'm really interested to see that fight, and I'm interested to see if Dubois is going to be the real deal or not. But fuck me, F.A. Jagbo, man, come on, like, F.A. Ambrose I'd rather watch. Fucking, I don't know.
F.A. off.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I don't know, what the rest do you think? I mean, it's pretty bare, like, isn't it?
I think we get excited when you see an undefeated heavyweight. Well, maybe I do. Like 4As, 15-0, a few knockouts, look like he can punch a little bit. You sort of think, here we go. I'm off the Ajagba train though. I think he's stiff as a whore's nipple, man. I'm not fussed on him. I'm with the doctor on that.
Yeah, and he doesn't like AJ, so I don't know. Has the doctor ever listened? Has he ever listened to the pod before? He doesn't like F.A. Jagba because he's made derisory comments about AJ. I don't know if he's. Don't think he's on the Patreon anyway, is he? Not spending any of those PhD wages in the Patreon.
Any of that collection plate money? No, I don't think so. Yes, you're listening to episode 363, guys, of the Nuthouse podcast. Rapping Rob Kelly there can be heard. Ozzy's with us as well. Gabe Lewis, Andy Patterson, alongside me, Steve. Bellew of the Week's coming up later. Bit of a threadbare week next week. Not much going on whatsoever. Let's get to the questions from our friends who've sent them in through Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, here, there and everywhere. Who should we go to first? Ozzy, I think we'll go to you. Graham Taylor on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum wanted Smido to answer a question about pointless pay-per-views. I said we will get Smido on at some point in the future, but he wants you to answer, Ozzy. Your thoughts on the DAZN UK launch in May. What does that mean for the wider British broadcasting landscape? And I'll just throw my 2 pence worth in quickly, Ozzy. I can see definitely Eddie, maybe Bean as well, escaping off to DAZN and maybe MTK propping up the Sky domestic shows. Other than that, haven't really thought much about it. What do you think?
Bean! Yeah, little shit. Here's what if you read that contract to the wanker.
It's an interesting move. I think it was obvious that when Edward got involved with them, they would come over to the UK. Probably quicker than first anticipated, but it's difficult. Look, it's difficult. They're coming into a new market. They're going to have no sports. I think it's such a niche market. Box Nation tried it, and ultimately, did they fail? I think they had the high moments, and they're making somewhat of a resurgence now. It looks like it's been picked up by another company, but it's so difficult, and they're only coming over and starting with Matchroom USA shows at the moment. So while it's only going to be £5, I can't see the subscriptions flooding in because they're showing content from Matchroom USA at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. This will be a success if they can pick up rights to the Premier League, pick up the cricket, pick up the rugby and things like that, and make it an outlet from where all sports fans will tune into it, because then you have got a bigger target market. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be launching purely for boxing purposes, and I think it will be a struggle, a real struggle, to be honest. I think it will be a success in America if they can somehow pick up the rights to potential NFL games, basketball, baseball, because again, the market opens up to a huge audience. So I mean, look, they're giving it a go. UK content, I don't know what they're going to do yet. I know the Sky deal's up in 12 months or something like that. They claim to be in negotiations, Sky and Matchroom, to renew that deal. If that does get renewed, I don't really know where that leaves DAZN over here. I don't see them picking up another promoter purely for the fact who would it be, unless it's going to be the one and only Michael Hennessy. Otherwise, it's one of them. Look, subscription channels like this are difficult, and in such a niche sport as boxing, from where every fucker has an opinion on it when there's a big fight, but you remove those big fights and a lot of the people couldn't give a toss about it. You ask them about the last night's Sky show and they wouldn't have even known it was on. So in terms of coming into a new channel coming into it for one sport, it's not going to be easy. So we'll wait and see. But I know the DAZN accounts were revealed on Twitter this week and they're showing huge losses. We're talking like 400 million plus for 2 years. So
when Heyman did that, everybody said it was bad business and he's shit and he doesn't know what he's doing. It's exactly the same here, isn't it? Massively.
Are you on about when, in terms of the costs or coming into the UK or?
No, I mean in the losses. Do you remember Waddell and Reed put up a load for PBC, didn't they? And everyone's, I can't believe he's lost so much money and it's terrible. Well, this is pretty much the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. I mean, they've admitted now that the one-time big purses that they use, to try and coax fighters over have stopped because they just can't sustain, those huge purses that they were giving. I mean, it's dictated the way fighters get paid now because fighters are on a lot more money. I mean, God, do you remember when they first launched some of the purses that were being bandied about for bang average fights, but they were doing it, to get fighters on the channel. Like I said, the launching with, and particularly as well, I'll repeat my point, they are launching with Matchroom USA shows over here. Canelo, Billy Joe will do okay, that's fine, but there's a UK interest there. People aren't going to be so last week's was it last week's or the week before show, the Mikey Garcia card, great card, that a real good card from top to bottom. But UK fight fans aren't going to be subscribing to DAZN to watch that. Your casual market, which is what Eddie bangs on about a lot. The casual market is the one that props up his shows. Ultimately, they get the tickets, because they'll use it as a night out. You aren't going to see, like 20 lads, 15 lads, big group of people crowd around the TV to watch, like Mikey Garcia at 4 o'clock in the morning because they have no interest.
I think it's a done deal that Matchroom are going to go to DAZN. I don't think they'd be making a move into the UK market without the guarantee that Matchroom are going to DAZN. I think that's a done deal, or they wouldn't be trying to set up there in the States in the first place. Yeah. And I'd be all over it. $5, they reckon it's going to come in cheap, $5 a month. I reckon with that, Netflix and Now TV, I'm still paying less than I used to pay with Sky for all these sports events and sports subscriptions. I can still see everything. And you get other sports with DAZN as well. It's not just boxing. So you get like MLS and stuff like that. That's stuff that you could throw on in the background if you have casual interest in sports. And they're going for high-profile soccer leagues all over the world. So for $5 a month, man, I'd be all over it. And you get the big fights too, crystal clear. So I should really get a job for DAZN, shouldn't I?
I was going to say, guys, Jed Kleemer made a good point in the chat. He said DAZN pick up the Saturday night shite and Sky keep the box office.
Quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. Because that is what's happening at the moment. You look at the Saturday night shows that have coming up or have just been and gone. They've been appalling. That Kell Brook card was garbage. The card last night was garbage. We've got that fucking god awful card in Doncaster with Terry Harper headlining against Tasha Jonas on a Friday or a Saturday night. I know it's next gen, but you can't just shove next gen in front of something which softens the blow. It's fucking rubbish. It's one of the worst Sky cards I've ever seen now. And then anything remotely competitive is just being shoved on pay-per-view. Sky, I mean, you look at the next, what have they got coming up now for Sky? You've got Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Anthony Joshua. 3 pay-per-views, that all within the space of 6 weeks, 7 weeks. What's that, all £20
the listeners on to, he's on to something good there as well, because how Joshua is... demands be met by being on a subscription service now in the UK, where everybody just pays a fiver if his fights are not pay-per-view. His fights are going to have to be still extra pay on top of the subscription for, like, outside the regular subscription.
Yeah.
So maybe they're going to use Sky for that, but log it. That's a done deal. You think Matchroom are going to be able to renegotiate with Sky for Sky, and Sky are going to give them more money than DAZN? This is the fucking. This is Heady we're talking about here. The fella who go and fight in Saudi Arabia for the fucking 150 mil. He's not going with Sky this time. And Sky's coverage even at the moment feels like very much like they're in the last chance saloon, doesn't it? Like,
I agree. It's like the end days of HBO when they were putting on Cecilia Bacchus and all that. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, they mentioned about Adam Smith's roles change now. He's something like head of boxing development, whatever that means. So the landscape is clearly changing at Sky. What exactly will happen, I'm not too sure yet. I think DAZN are here to stay, without a doubt. I mean, look, they're coming in at an introductory price, like they did in America. That £5's not going to last long. That'll soon be at £15 a month comfortably. Because look, that's the way these subscription channels work. Are we getting all the content that DAZN show? By the way, I don't think that'll be that easy. Because you're coming into a new market, therefore you'll need UK rights to show, like the MLS and other sports.
Another thing is, Ozzy, have they not got the agreement? Like, they show the darts in Germany on DAZN Germany, and they show the darts in Japan on DAZN Japan. And I'm just using that as an example of a conflict, whereas darts are very much on Sky. They're gonna have to resolve all these type of things, aren't they?
Exactly. But look who getting darts on DAZN in Germany. But look who owns the company. It's the Hearns. Matchroom, operate the darts and things like that. So that works. I mean, Lee Frotch there in the chat saying we aren't getting any of the international stuff. So they're going to be coming over now, literally starting up for boxing. And it's difficult. Like I said, Box Nation tried it. But they did have UK content as well. And at a time it did work. But it soon died off. And there just isn't the market there, to solely run a channel on American content just for timings. It's not going to work. So it's going to be interesting to see, that's for sure. I think they'll need UK content, particularly to drive subscriptions. And if DAZN over here is here to stay, they need to be looking at picking up other sports as well, such as, like I said, football, cricket. They couldn't go far wrong, we're picking up, say, early on, the Football League, Championship, League 1, League 2. It's not a massive market, but it will drive games. It will drive some subscription.
There's talking of isn't there talking of bidding for Premier League stuff though? I've heard that, like,
can't they bid for like the lowly football channel packages? The way Amazon picked them up over Christmas, like those type of things.
Yeah, but it's not up for grabs. Well, they could bid for anything, Steve. I mean, look, they could go in and say, we'll give you £1 billion and we'll take up anything we want. But they're not coming round for renewal for another year yet. I don't think.
That's what I was going to ask. Right, okay.
So there's nothing on that. And I mean, look, Amazon have probably got the deepest pockets in sport. I mean, the owner of the fucking company is the richest man in the world. So I mean, if anything, I mean, I've always said, look, WWE. I think, and uses them as a prime example, they have their own network now, but that's a worldwide audience. They are well known across the world, so they can do that. They put all their pay-per-views on their channel. They don't put them on Sky Box Office anymore. They just put them on the network, and you have got to subscribe to that to watch them. I always say the Premier League should do this. They should start Premier League TV. They should fuck Sky or fuck BT. If you paid £10 a month to subscribe to Premier League TV, you would have everybody in the world doing that, and that would work. But for boxing, that will not work because the market, it just isn't there. As I say, it's the one sport that everybody has an opinion on because they think, because they watch one of the big fights, the one in 6 months. But then you get you get your bread and butter stuff like your Goodwin, Wood, Bull shows, things like that, Carl Greaves, then your regular BT
Hobson. Sky
shows. Yeah, can't forget Hobson, the latest Josh Whale, Idi Kayumba show. But people like that, they haven't got a clue. But I could ask him who's Josh Whale, and they could say, I don't know. he works in the local Greg shop, because they haven't got a clue who he is. And that's what I mean. They're going to be what's it called? They're going to be working on. It's going to be difficult anyway. It's going to be difficult.
And Andy, quick word from you on this one. I mentioned DAZN maybe trying to get other sports. The thing is, live sport, it's so hard to justify, isn't it? People are always going on about, Netflix getting involved in sport, but apparently Netflix aren't interested, because the thing is with live sport, after it's live and it's happened, it loses a lot of intrinsic value. You know, the way you can show these TV shows over and over again, but live sport is a lot harder to retain, I think. So I'm not sure. I think DAZN will have its work cut out, Andy. I don't know what you think, whether you'll be subscribing or not. You there, Andy? Don't know if Andy's with us or not. Anything to add there, Rob?
Yeah, seeing as it's International Women's Day, and we're mentioning Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, what did he accumulate? 270 billion or something. Didn't send a picture of his knob like Brian King to a window, and had to lose half of that fortune to his wife. So men are flawed, aren't we?
Thanks for that, Rob. Thought for the day. Okay, let's move on.
Don't
Gabe.
get me started on Joe Fritzl again.
No, we're not going down that. We're not going down that rabbit hole, down that trapdoor again. Gabe, question for you come in from Daniel. He says, which heavyweight in history beats Tyson Fury with no doubt in your mind? Which heavyweight, Gabe, in history beats Tyson Fury with no doubt in your mind?
Joe Frazier, Jack Johnson, Muhammad Ali. Do we really want to go through this whole list?
Yep.
Fucking hey, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't want to disrespect the guy's question. He is obviously a fan of what he sees. I also enjoy Tyson Fury. I also think he's absolutely one of the most tremendous fighters we've seen in the heavyweight division in quite some time. But huge but. I think you have to keep it in perspective a little bit. And this is kind of a thing that we've talked about over the years in general on the pod and whenever we used to have our forum and all those kind of things. You always look at right now with a different set of eyes than you do later on, and you have obviously the history, and you can look back on a sum picture after it's all said and done with. Is what Tyson Fury what he has accomplished to this point been great? Yes, I do believe it has been great. It has been a tremendous amount of good things that he's done in his career. And shutting down Wilder, the most feared man in the division, twice was big. Beating Vlad Klitschko was also pretty much a defining moment of his career. So, he hasn't had that many fights, and he's already pulled off 3 really amazing feats. And so, for me, it's a pretty easy thought right now at this point to say, yeah, he's among some of the great heavyweights that we've seen to this point. But he's still got, fights left ahead of him. Let's wait and see what happens then. But I think we could name off a whole list of guys that are capable of beating him. And I'm not going to go down and list all of those. I think that a guy that's asking this question who has a knowledge of the history of the heavyweight division would kind of be able to compile that list on his own. So I don't want to go down that list, but I think that let's put it in reference. Yeah, he's done some great things. Yeah, he could beat some of the top guys of years gone by. But is he the guy to beat them all? Well, that'll never happen.
Andy, you're back with us. Sounding okay?
Hopefully, mate.
Absolutely loud and clear. Just in time for a question flying in from Simon Alavey. He was watching the boxing last night on Sky, Andy, and he was clean raging. He said, having seen some of the early stoppages already tonight and the judging so far this year, can we really moan that the big fights are happening abroad?
No, we can't really moan, I suppose. I mean, end of the day, the big money is in America. The American market has been quite aggressive, what they're offering fighters and stuff. But I forget who it was, if it was Ozzy or Robert mentioned about the figures that came out for DAZN during the week there. It's kind of bleak reading. It's going to hit critical mass at some point. I mean, the MEN holds something that was between 18 and 20,000, I think it was. Only 4,000 made it in there last night. It looks like the UK market has been fucking basically kind of like sucked up and spat back out. It's been wrung out. There's, Eddie saying, for example, that Josh was having to take a pay cut to fight Pulev in the UK. So maybe that's something to do with the StubHub situation. I don't know. But it's clear that if you want paid, you have to go to America for it. And to be honest, the way it's going with this TV deal, I think you've all got it spot on. You've already got Macklin in place, and that he knows the kind of ins and outs of Sky and stuff. There will be shake-ups. I dare say Ed Robinson will probably get a move as well. I think he'll maybe kind of step in. I would agree with you as well that maybe Adam Smith might move to the zone. Deep down anyway, he is a boxing guy. I mean, but he is, for example, he's talking about he wants Joshua Fury, next on Sky, and he's basically told within a week that he's going to have to fucking wait another 6, maybe 12 months, maybe even longer. And Eddie's on now talking about he's wanting to renew the Sky deal. Well, off the back of that last night, nobody would be fucking wanting to renew that deal. And Sky are probably suffering as well the fact that they've got this exclusive deal with Eddie only. But even some of the domestic fights he's put, I mean, as I say, it's happened back to Anthony Fowler would have been better off in the gym there last night rather than fighting. Wasted training camp, wasted expenses, and wasted his fucking percentage paying his trainer and the tax man and that as well. He'd been better off than even fucking fighting there last night. But that is what it is. We keep getting told British boxing's booming. It's doing well, I will say that, but I think we're at a point now whereas, for example, especially up here, if it wasn't for Josh Taylor, who's kind of like, carrying the flag up here, even his biggest fight was down in fucking London, for example. We didn't get any big fights up here. Wales is kind of struggling a wee bit as well. Once Frampton retires, not Top Ireland's going to be kind of struggling. It just seems it's kind of dearth for kind of decent fights. Although I'm looking forward to the Yarde. What's his name?
Lyndon Arthur.
Anthony Yarde. Lyndon Arthur. It might be decent enough, but I think Yarde might be too big for him in the end. But there's not really much kicking about. I mean, I think Frank's got a few things lined up British title wise. If I can recall reading the memo during the week, not for the board. But no, I mean, ticket wise, big atmospheres and that, it's just not happening in the UK at the minute. And it will be interesting actually because Spurs Stadium holds something like 60,000-70,000. It'll be interesting to see how much the big man does actually in the summertime for that fight. So just keep a wee eye on it as well.
Rob, couple of questions flying in.
Oh,
you did? No, you did, Andy. Excellent stuff there. Aussie's BRB. We'll come to him shortly. Go to you, Rob. Couple of questions from Liam Wynn. First of all, Liam says, with Deontay Wilder being suspended, where do we think Tyson Fury will go now? Well, I think he's only suspended in Nevada, isn't he, till April? So, I mean, I don't think that's going to send Fury elsewhere.
The fight's going to be in July. No, the fight has to happen before July, and I just expect that's probably around the end of July. That's when we're going to see it. Maybe the push for AJ towards the end of the next year. That's assuming, of course, Tyson Fury wins this fight. It can't. I know, I'd be of the opinion that the result won't be any different, but how many rounds do you want to give Deontay Wilder a chance to knock you out in? You know what I mean? It's because he had two right hands doesn't mean he can eat it the next time. So you'll have to be completely switched on on the night of the fight, but I'd expect him to be able to get the result. What else to say on it? I don't think, but Wilder's not suspended, dude. It's just a precautionary suspension after he got stopped. So it's nothing to put this fight out of contention.
Rob, it sounds like you're getting lost at sea, but I have another important question for you if you're still
there. Was
there.
it bad, It's pretty calm.
Yeah, it was bad towards the end.
Yeah. Sorry.
A tornado, Texas tornado. Liam is asking the important questions to you, Rob. He said, does John O'Carroll have the best beard in boxing?
No. The answer to that is pretty simple. That goes to Conor Benn. So, no, unfortunately, Jono's coming up with the silver medal in that one.
Shout out to Conor Benn, the British Hair Clinic. Gabe, question for you coming in from Ted Barrett. He was asking about promoters. He says, do promoters get away with a lot of criticism from poor judging decisions, as it's always the home fighter that gets the bad judging decision in their favour, and the judge seems to solely get the blame, when it's obvious, says Ted Barrett, that the promoters have a sway on the judges and rarely get questioned on it? So, I mean, this is an interesting thing, isn't it? Went back to the old days of Germany as well, Gabe, saying, well, the promoters are putting up the judges in nice 5-star hotels and what have you. Should they get more of a criticism when the judge puts in a homer card? Should we be directing our ire elsewhere, aside from the judge themselves?
Well, I mean, I think it needs to be addressed to a lot of different people. For us here in the States, and for you guys, the British Boxing Board of Control and your local governmental agency or what have you that oversees sport, I think it goes to them. I think it goes to the judges themselves. I think it goes to sometimes the fighters, and I think it comes down to the viewers as well. I feel like there's always bad decisions because the scoring is always going to be up to the beholder, So, I mean, you see guys that do a lot of body punching, and that scores them rounds for certain judges, and the other ones don't seem to score it at all. So is it a problem from all those different people, from those commissions not training their judges, the judges being biased, the promoters for maybe subliminally giving cues as to what they want to happen, maybe even downright corruption with them being paid off. And then you have, a million different things in between. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know if it goes to the promoters or not. I mean, I certainly feel like they do have sway over the decisions that get made many times, because as the question was asked, it certainly does appear that the majority of the time the house fighter wins, the big money guy wins. And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's a good thing, but I think that's always going to be kind of the way it works in the sport. If you don't have the big time promoter in your corner, if you aren't the big money maker, if you're not the prospect that they're looking to match up in a big money making event, then you're not going to get the decisions. That's just the way it is. So, although I say that the fighter has to be prepared for those things and to know those things going into the fight and to do everything he or she can not to leave it to the judges, at the same time, you can get guys in there that give it 110%, and they're not going to score a knockout, so they should be able to win from boxing someone's ears off, but they often don't. I don't know. That question's really tough to answer. I don't know that I have a good answer for it, to be honest with you. I think it should rest on the promoters. I think it should rest primarily on the judges and the commissions. The commissions, we've seen them do this time and again. They employ inept judges. They employ inept officials. I mean, look at Lawrence Cole. For fuck's sake, he still does fights when they're in Texas. How many times? You
always have a go at him.
Poor
Lawrence. He's up on him, Gabe. Come on.
No, Lawrence is the biggest piece of shit I've ever fucking seen, and his dad is the head of the. We don't even have a state fucking commission in the state of Texas. It's some kind of fucking loosely regulated bunch of fucking bullshit where I'm sure they're all making money hand over fist in the back alleys and making deals off all kinds of shit. So fuck Lawrence Cole and fuck his dad too. They've made Texas an absolute not good place to fight over the years with their inept fucking officiating, and they consistently allow inept judges to judge here. But it's not just us in Texas. The fucking Nevada State Athletic Commission, the California State Athletic Commission. New York is disgusting. Danny Garcia in his last fight, who'd he fight? That kid with the fucking
Red Catch.
Kodo ripoff tattoo. What's his name?
Red Catch.
Yeah, Red Catch. They tried to fucking fine Red Catch his whole purse for biting him. Okay, now I see if you do some major damage and gouge a motherfucker's eye out with your thumb, yeah, you should get a big fine for that. They tried to fine him his whole fucking purse. His whole purse for a bite. Is it unsportsmanlike? Sure it is. Has it happened before? Absolutely. Does it happen probably more than we see or hear about? I would tend to venture. But you can't take a guy's whole purse away. They were going to take his whole purse and suspend him for, I don't know, it was, I want to say it was 2 years, but it may have not been quite that long. But you're talking about a guy that's worked his way into a position who did something that, yeah, he shouldn't have done, but they're going to take his entire purse? No, that's their bullshit. They're trying to make money to pay off Magomed Abdusalamov's family still. They're still paying fucking shit with their travesty of a job and having paramedics and officials ringside to take care of the fucking fighter's health. So no, I guess I'm going off on a little bit of a soapbox here. But again, I think the main part of the blame has to be the commissions and it has to be the judges, because they have to be the ones looking out for the underdogs, for those little guys that don't have a big promoter, for those little guys that have worked their fucking asses off to get into position to win and to have a title fight or have a big money fight. And whenever they do that and they get jobbed out because those commissions are too fucking stupid and lazy and ignorant to do their jobs the right way, then they're really the ones who had the ability to oversee all of it. They had the ability to oversee the whole thing, and they didn't do it because they put fucking blind-ass Adelaide Bird back in the goddamn judge's spot, or whomever it may be. So, that's my opinion on the question. I'm sorry to drag out the answer that long. I don't know that the promoters should get as much shit for it. I mean, obviously, I do think they're heavily involved in those poor decisions, but in the end of the day, I think it goes back to the regulating boards and their ability and their lack of give a shit to do the right thing on a consistent basis.
Well said, Gabe. Before we move on to the action for next week, which includes Shakur Stevenson and a little bit of James Kirkland, Ozzy, you're back with us. Quick word on Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur, which was announced. Good fight, you think?
Yeah, I was a bit mixed on it at first, more so because I thought it was quite a big step down from what Yarde operated at last time out, prior to obviously the little run out he had in Spain. But then you look over his record, and quite frankly, this is probably the domestic level fight that we were all crying out for prior to him fighting Sergey Kovalev. So I don't mind it. I think Lyndon Arthur will learn a hell of a lot from his last fight when I thought he copped a pretty good decision on the cards and got lucky to win that Commonwealth title. He's going to be coming to win. Yarde certainly has a lot more to lose than he does to gain in this one, because if he comes unstuck here, it's difficult to see him coming back at that top level, and it will be a big rebuilding process, whereas Arthur has got the fact, it was a big jump and a good opportunity. But all in all, I got told they weren't keen on taking this fight. Well, Anthony Yarde was, Tunde Ajayi wasn't. Lyndon Arthur then basically took to his social channels and called them out on this and basically, look, like, what the hell are you playing at? They wanted Jake Ball. Well, Tunde Ajayi wanted Jake Ball for Anthony Yarde, and I think that is just an absurd, laughable opponent. And for me, Yarde needs to leave Ajayi, because I think he will cost him his career. It's an ego thing with him as well. We saw that in Russia. It was an ego thing. Shocking advice in the corner. And then I think poor managerial decisions as well. I was told that Anthony Yarde did try and basically get out a bit of his deal with Ajayi. He's clearly been swayed for now to stay on board. And I think after Arthur took to social, I think they thought, hang on, like, we need to take this fight. So good on Lyndon Arthur for following this up. And I'm looking forward to it. I certainly don't think it's going to go the distance. I think it's guaranteed to end in a knockout. Which way it goes, I would probably side with Yarde at the moment. But Arthur was a very good amateur, and he does have skills, and he does have a decent jab. So on paper, it has the makings to be a very good chief support to Dubois Joyce.
Andy, I mentioned Shakur Stevenson there defending his WBO featherweight title against Miguel Mariaga. Not the greatest opponent in the world, Mariaga, but at least it's a nice quick turnaround for Shakur. The most interesting thing about this fight, it was brought to my attention during the week, and I believe it's true, not 100% though. Bob Arum has held ownership of the WBO featherweight title for the last 13 years. Is this true? From Stephen Luevano in 2007, when he beat Nicky Cook, through Juan Manuel Lopez, through Orlando Salido, through Mikey Garcia, back to Salido again, through Vasyl Lomachenko, through Oscar Valdez to Shakur Stevenson. 13 years, Bob has held the WBO featherweight title.
Interesting stat that, actually, on Wee Bob's organisation. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's an okay first defence, I suppose. But it's a shame that we're not talking about a potential fight with Josh Warrington. There was a lot. Well, he was given a lot of smack, Shakur Stevenson, about this fight, saying he's no wanting it and stuff. And we were kind of hoping. I think Frank had words with Bob Arum at the time when they were obviously doing the promotion of the Wilder Fury fight, and they were hopeful that fight was going to get made. And for whatever reason, I don't know if Shakur's priced himself out here or whatever and that, but it's a shame the fight's not going to be happening because it was one of the fights we wanted to see. But I suppose to me, Mariaga he's a decent opposition. Okay, he got tooled off Lomachenko and he pushed Valdez really, well, I wouldn't suppose to say close in the cards, but he knew he'd been in the fight anyway, put it that way. But I suspect Stevenson was too quick, too slick for him as well. And probably kind of, I don't know if he's going to be struggling at the weight, because I do know he's been fighting up at lightweight a couple of fights back. So hopefully it makes his weight okay. But I suspect, as I say, I'm not really keen on Stevenson at present, but I think he'll probably beat him on points, unless if he does step it up, could maybe get a late stoppage. But I'll say at the minute he's going to beat him on points.
Yeah, this is the second time Rob has boxed for the WBO featherweight title since he lost to Oscar Valdez back in 2017. He'll bring the heat, won't he? But you imagine Stevenson will punch too hard, too fast, too often for him. Do you think Mariaga will go the distance, Rob, or do you think he'll be the architect of his own downfall? You there, Robert?
Sorry, Stephen. Missed all that.
No problem. I was talking about Shakur Stevenson against Miguel Mariaga. We're wondering whether Mariaga will go the distance or whether he'll get stopped by Stevenson.
No, I think Stevenson will get him out of there. Middle of the fight or a little bit later. I think he'll end up stopping him on cuts or something like that and pull him out. But I'm not that excited about it, to be honest with you. He'll probably probably take longer than he did at the gas station.
His win at the garage picked up his points as well before he left.
Yeah, Texaco.
Old Texaco. To Texas, Gabe, a couple for you. You can talk about Stevenson against Mariaga if you wish, Gabe, but I am interested to get your opinion on the return of James Kirkland going in against Mark Anthony Hernandez, headliner on the PBC next Saturday evening in Maryland. Kirkland against Hernandez or Stevenson against Mariaga. Take your pick, Gabriel.
I'm going to go with Stevenson over Mariaga. Mariaga's a tough cat, but he's not going to be able to stand up to the power and speed. That's just my real quick thoughts on that fight. I like Mariaga, just don't see him winning. I think Shakur's too fast, too skilled, and too strong. The Kirkland fight I won't go on about. I will say I'm really interested to see it. James has been out of the ring for quite some time. I don't even know. The last time I remember any news on Kirkland was he was being lined up to fight Cotto in Cotto's little farewell last 2 or 3 fights. It was supposed to be here in Texas, and I was super pumped up for that because I like James Kirkland and I liked Cotto, so that could have been a great fight too, assuming Kirkland, didn't get blitzed out early. I was that he may have fought since then. I believe he has. I don't really recall. But I'm excited to see him if and only if he's with Wolfe again. If he's not, couldn't give a fuck less, because James Kirkland without Wolfe is a shell of what he can be. For some reason, that's one of those teams in boxing. It just works. It just works. I couldn't tell you. And obviously, some of the guys listening may or may not have been fans of the show a long time ago. It may not have really followed the sport closely whenever Kirkland was on a pretty good stretch there, and he got starched out by Nobuhiro Ishida. That was a shocker, and that was on a pay-per-view card. I can't remember what fight it was, or what card it was, pardon me. But that was a shocker. And then I think he got back with Wolfe for his next fight, or next fight or two, and looked a lot better. And then he had some close calls, and then Alfredo Angulo, I thought was going to get the better of him. Kirkland won that fight, and then, ever since then, the Canelo fight was one that I really recall his last fight as. He just never kind of did much after that. So, again, I'm really excited if we can see Kirkland with Wolfe. And if he's not with Wolfe, I don't see this fight going well for him. Unless his new trainer has found what Wolfe did and is able to keep him going, because that was the best version of James Kirkland. And so I do think the fight can be somewhat intriguing, because a vicious James Kirkland is a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah, Lee IFL Fotch in the chat making a good point. He says, I wonder why Wolfe hasn't really trained anyone else. You would imagine that'd be quite tough on you, wouldn't it? Picking up tractor tyres and running after trucks and throwing midgets over walls and all that type of stuff that Wolfe comes up with. That wouldn't be for everybody, I don't think, that type of training regime.
Right, and Wolfe, of course, because they were together, weren't they? So that's got to take it out of the legs as well. You know what I mean? Could be grueling. That's maybe why James didn't want to go back to camp.
Probably sick of beating him in
I remember they
sparring.
showed some clips of him training, and they had the truck with a pole on the end of it, and a heavy bag sucked into the pole, and she was like driving the fucking car at him, like straight at him. Of course, she wasn't going fast, but she's sitting there driving the car with the heavy bag into him, and this motherfucker's sitting there banging on the bag. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel like, some of that stuff is not going to offer a scientific advantage in terms of being, I would think, in a gym doing the same, a similar exercise. But I think it was the psychological edge that she brought to the table with James Kirkland. I think that's really what it was. Like, she was a vicious motherfucker too. So
that's a whole
he's only lost 2 fights. He's only lost 2 fights, and the 2 fights he lost, he wasn't with her. And I remember her having bloody murder before the Canelo fight that he hadn't selected her, because she was like, that freckle motherfucker can fight. And she was fucking fuming that she didn't get, because she wanted him mean. I think that it was a big psychological edge. She wanted him to be, Kirkland to be mean, because when he's mean, he's dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? So she was trying to bring that out in him, I think, more than like skill stuff. But what a character Wolfe was, man. Fuck me, like a fucking legend. Like,
would you, Rob?
If she wanted to.
You wouldn't have a choice.
Just wait for the days afterwards.
Being there like I'd more, man, ducking and weaving.
I'd be like Naz.
Or the flying carpet or what?
Stick out of there, aye. Doing somersaults out of the fence and everything.
Andy, I'm sure you had something. I'm sure you had something better to add. But in shit title news, Eggy Phil in the chat says that Caleb Truax has pulled out of the David Benavidez fight, and Roma Alexis Angulo is in, who recently beat Anthony Sims, has jumped in to face Benavidez. So that's shit all over, isn't it? There.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who. If I've seen that Sims fight, that was the one that was kind of buried in one of the recent DAZN cards, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah.
Was it the Florida one where Farmer lost to Diaz? I think.
And that other guy was the one that beat the Gale, wasn't it? It's no Khalid Plant. Ah, right, okay. Benavidez, man, yeah, he's just. Hopefully, we can get that big unification fight. He needs a kind of breakout. Well, I know it's not really a big name, but he needs some sort of kind of signature win at the weight, I suppose. But this isn't it, I suppose. But when is this fight?
I have no idea.
Right, that means
April, end of April.
6 weeks, so gives him semi-time to get in shape, I suppose. I've never heard of the guy, like, to be honest with you.
Don't worry about it. We shall move on. We shall move on indeed to Bellew of the Weeks. Were you going to add anything in there, Ozzy, just before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks?
No, nothing.
No problem. Episode 363, Ozzy's with us there, rapping Rob Kelly, Andy and Gabe. First nomination coming in from Kevin Chase, Bellew of the Week nomination for Billy Graham, after his comments in Boxing Monthly comparing Daniel Dubois to Sonny Liston. Christ, maybe in his monosyllabic interviews, says Kevin Chase. James Bernard says he just wants to be left alone. Tony Bellew has been nominated. Bellew tweeted out, 3 years ago today I headed into a fight with a fighter everyone tipped to take my head clean off. I don't do excuses, and neither did he. Thank you, David Hay, for the opportunity. You helped create a better life for myself and my family, and that's all I ever wanted to do. Hay doesn't make excuses, guys. Just back off.
Fucking hell. Just leave him alone, man. Just wants to be out of the limelight. Stop bringing up 3 years ago that he mentioned himself.
The Haymaker, indeed. Terry Woodfine has nominated Akin, aka Sparrow Tipsy. He could be nominated on multiple accounts, this Sparrow guy, but he says Fury isn't near Joshua in terms of draw, fan base and money generation. Joshua would sell out a stadium in Africa, just shadow boxing. So that's one for him. Ricky Gravel has nominated DAZN USA, some of the greatest father and son boxing duos in honour of National Sunday. 3 out of these sons were shit, says Ricky Gravel. You got the Mayweathers, obviously that's the good one. You got Chavez's, I think it's Evander Holyfield and his son, and Alexis, Hector Camacho is the other one as well. I can't see, the screenshot's not very clear. But anyway, Ricky Gravel, not too pleased with that one. Dominic Henry has nominated Clarissa Shields.
Another one.
Oh, Jorge Paez?
Junior, yeah, another one.
Oh, right. There you go. Rob jumping in there, helping me out. Dominic has nominated Clarissa T-Rex Shields. Mayweather was giving her a pat on the back, and Clarissa says, greatness, recognise greatness. Yeah, Mayweather and Clarissa right up there.
I tell you what, man, she loves to self-praise herself, that one. Yeah, she loves it, man.
Quote camp.
She never shuts the fuck up about herself. She's the only person that actually speaks about her is herself, and then we follow suit because we're normally talking about some stupid shit that she's ever saying.
Nobody's talking about her.
The only time you ever...
Yeah, but as Rob says, nobody's talking about her. So then, at the end of the day, right, so she talks about herself. Then apparently we're all racist because we don't talk about her.
Well, she only gets mentioned when she's talking about herself, or we're nominating her for Bellew of the Week. They're the two main people who are talking about her.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so she should be thankful to us for even talking about her, actually.
We love her. She's great value to us. I'd be lost without her.
She's the vomit-inducing queen. You know, it comes out like Kwan. The queen. You know, it's funny because when you see any of her tweets and that, you go into the responses and that, and you know, every third response is the same. They're just trying to stop you, queen. They just, you know, they're against us, queen. You know, oh, this pish, you know. Queen. Fucking hell, man.
There you go, Clarissa. The Goat herself been nominated.
Snow Freddie Mercury. What some of her fights are.
Swaggy Taggy says this pod probably talks about the Goat more than the boxing voice. We love Clarissa. She's great value. Gives us some material every week, she does.
Yeah, plus it gives the opportunity for the woke brigade that fucking Tommy riled up to listen in to say, oh, they're no racist after all.
She's not, she's dropping the ball by not having her own YouTube series called Clarissa Explains It All.
Probably copyrighted, isn't it? Aye, good old Clarissa. Craig Cross has nominated Dillian White, talking to IFL Oscar. Ruiz is going to fight Chris Arreola, who's 1,000 years old, says Dillian. Oscar then said, Alexander Povetkin is not 1,000 years old, but he's 40. Dillian says, he's a good 40. Bellew of the Week for Dillian there. Nomination, Talk Sport. AJ would box rings around Wilder, easy. Ben jumped in. Derek Chisora would box rings around Wilder. No consent boxing, says full-blown incurable AIDS, and nominates Ben there for that comment. 2 years ago, Dillian White told everyone he knew how to beat Povetkin. Now he gets his chance to prove it. Danny says Dillian White would fight a silverback mountain gorilla, and Mihal at Mihal R6 has nominated him for that. Colin Cooper, this is a good one. Colin Cooper got blocked a while ago for suggesting to Tundi that Anthony Yarde should fight Lyndon Arthur for the Commonwealth title. I don't know whether Tundi's going to unblock him or not now, but the fight has actually been made. That guy's an absolute melter. I know we mentioned it earlier, Andy, but Tundi blocked Colin Cooper for suggesting this actual fight that is now happening a few weeks ago.
Colin Cooper obviously isn't a believer in System 9? System X? What's it called?
Is it no? Plan 9 from outer space. I don't know. I can't remember what the system is now.
Fucking planet Pluto, man. He's fucking landed there.
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. Aye. Liner Thruster.
Tundi getting a nomination there. Turtle and Bear. I'm getting this in early. He says Fred at the barbershop conversations talking about Tyson Fury cheating Wilder out of his title. They're doing to Wilder what they did to Jack Johnson. Tyson should be charged for committing a crime, says Fred.
Fred Hawthorne.
Fucking hell.
Chief mentalist.
These guys, right? There's another one, the LBDC channel. I don't know if it's the same one. I understand they're like militant black people, right? So they're going to have this perspective. But like, if that's even on the other side, like if it's some white supremacist coming up with this shit, like it's just fucking embarrassing. Will you stop? Like, you're trying to say that Fury got a benefit from keeping his fist clenched halfway down the glove. Show me the fighter that can do that without breaking his thumb. By the way, right, and you got all these guys who are halfway semi-credible in the sport coming out and like now trying to shine light on it. People are asking about an interview. Stop giving this thing credence. Like, it's a fucking joke. And then they're going back to old Fury fights and saying he's done it a load of times. Are you out of your mind? So you're expecting us to believe that Peter Fury, Ben Davis, and Freddie Roach, Tyson, Sugar Hill, and Andy Lee are all glove tamperers, and this is how Fury's been winning his fights? Fuck me, the excuses are bad enough coming from Wilder himself, let alone the public making up excuses for him. Like, he took an ass kicking. He might not ever be the same. He got a hiding. That's the only thing that happened. Like, so stop trying to fucking take away from the Gypsy King. And then don't be making it a racial thing when Fury's a gypsy anyway. They don't know what the fucking discrimination he's faced in his life. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, stop trying to make boxing into that, like, a fucking political thing. It's two men in the ring. It doesn't matter what fucking colour they are. The better man wins, and the better man on the night was Fury, and that's just it.
Yep, nomination for Fred. Jed Kleemer has thrown one in the chat here. He says Bellew of the Week for Steve Bunce, saying Deontay Wilder had legs like Stephen Hawking. I didn't see that one. But a good nomination from Jed. Ryan Garcia has been nominated by friend of the pod Daniel Adams at Daniel Adams _81. Ryan says, even when I get a migraine, I don't complain. So there you are, Ryan, toughing it out, looking for a cuddle, no doubt, this week on Twitter. Graham Taylor 5 is nominated. I'm not sure of the channel, but it's another undeniable proof that Wilder was cheated both times against Fury. What Rob mentioned about the thumb there was actually what came to my mind. It looked to me like it was more detrimental to Fury, like he might break a wrist or have some kind of finger damage or something. I think George Groves mentioned similar as well, so I don't know what they're going on about. I love a good conspiracy anyway. Michael Buffer has been nominated as well by Daniel Adams. Just being around Johnny Nelson on a regular basis over the last 4 years, says Buffer, has actually inspired me at age 75 to keep fit. Cardio and using dumbbells daily, even on the road, has made a difference. Here's a 75-year-old bicep after a 1am workout in a Dallas hotel last week. Thanks, Johnny. And then Buffer's put up his bicep, so good luck to him for all that. Lukey Boxing, haven't heard from Lukey in a while. He's back with a vengeance. Been nominated by Super Dicky 193. Lukey says the biggest pay-per-view to be made would be Canelo versus Andy Ruiz in some form of a heavyweight catchweight bout. Imagine that in Mexico City. What? Hang on. Canelo versus Andy Ruiz in a heavyweight catchweight?
Michael Montero actually gives credence to this guy, by the way. He's a fucking mentalist.
I used to listen to his podcast, actually, Lukey, because he used to appear on the Boxing Coalition from time to time, but that's a cracker, that is. The biggest pay-per-view to be made is Canelo versus Ruiz at a heavyweight catchweight in Mexico City.
Andy Ruiz, who can't make weight for heavyweight, by the way.
Andy Ruiz sits down for an interview and he's still sweating. Because he's got the meat sweats pouring out his fucking pores, man.
Not surprised with that chain round his neck, Andy. You'd be sweating too.
Fucking.
You think he'd be a bit slimmer if he's eating all the meat in Mexico, wouldn't you? But
yeah, true.
Aye.
But that chain's got to be fucking choking him though, eh? It's got to be, man. Can you imagine if he fell on his back, man? He would literally die. He couldn't be able to roll on his back to get his fucking off his windpipe.
Here, see where we're on the excuses,
Turn the
by the way.
fucking bike up with that.
See where we're on the excuses. I wonder, did the guy that was in the fucking Dusty Bin costume blame his costume being too heavy for when Deontay Wilder knocked him out on Mexican television?
Well, that's what's going to ask. I didn't see the entrance last night, but did Adam Kownacki walk in with a Polish flag draped around about him by any chance? I just wonder if it was maybe too heavy for him.
He came in dressed as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but he never took the suit off. Oh dear. Yeah, this is a good one. Ebony, what's she called? Blonde Bomber Bridges, an Australian boxer. I'll get on board with women's boxing if she's the standard. She's getting weighed in. She says, in case you all missed my weigh-in attire, because I've only just started using Twitter, here's a treat for you. Let me know your favourite colours for my next weigh-in. If you know me, you know I'm a crowd pleaser. And she's hashtag weigh-in, hashtag boxing, hashtag sexy in red. And she's tweeted in Frank Smith as well. She knows how to get things moving, but she's not impressing Del G on Twitter, at really nice Derek. He's having a go at Ebony. He says, hey Ebony, the blonde Wilder Bridges, just letting you know that you look pretty and stuff now, but as soon as you grow some breasts to come over to the UK and face Sharon Courtney, it will be a very different story. A very, very different story, says Derek. Hashtag take on Sharon.
This week, man. Sharon Courtney.
That's a cracker, isn't it? That.
Oh, Steve, go read that one out again, man. That was just that deserves a second read.
So Derek, she's quite the looker, this woman, Ebony Bridges. So Derek tweets to her, hey Ebony, the blonde Wilder Bridges, just letting you know you look pretty and stuff now, in capital letters, but as soon as you grow the breasts to come over to the UK and face Sharon Courtney, it grows some breasts, it will be a very different story. Then he reiterates it, a very, very different story. Hashtag take on Sharon. What a legend. Yeah. Oh, you'll get on board if you see this young lady though, Ebony Bridges. She's quite the character. She tweeted back to Boxing Asylum BOTW as well, so we're a fan of Ebony. We'll try again on the pod, shall we? Could be the greatest guest in the
hears
studio.
the piano drop. She know all about it.
Moving on, boxing scene have said Callum Smith says Canelo never wanted him, explains why. Bellew of the Week nomination for Marcus Bellinger. Again, James Bairstow has nominated Callum. Smith says Canelo never wanted to fight me. Canelo only made one offer, but failed to start negotiations when his team turned it down. He will look elsewhere now for an opponent, says Callum.
Who the fuck does he think he is? Well, he only made me one offer, he wasn't serious. That's your offer. You're getting the fucking chance of a lifetime. You're never going to get a payday like that again. That offer is bigger than any person you've ever had in your life. And you wanted to renegotiate with the biggest fucking pay-per-view star in boxing. Callum Smith did. Fucking hell, man.
Oh, yeah. A few people threw that one in. David Almond has nominated Sky's Johnny Nelson for comparing Hughie Fury to Lennox Lewis. Dan Adams, I'd like to formally nominate Tunde Ajayi for Bellew of the Week for claiming Anthony Yarde against Lyndon Arthur is pay-per-view worthy and would have been had it not been on the same night as Dubois versus Joyce. Apparently we should all be grateful, says Tunde. Cameron, who was this nominated it now? Oh yeah, Kieran Hinfney nominated Greg for talking about Canelo. If Canelo can deal with Lara in a tough fight, he can deal with Billy Joe Saunders. Terry Woodfine has nominated Scott Quigg. Eddie in the changing rooms after trying to big Scott Quigg up on IFL says, who's dropped one? Quigg says, it was me, I burped. Didn't see that one, but Terry Woodfine sent it in. That's all the ones I've got. A few quality nominations, but so far I think Derek is the front runner. Andy, anything for you to throw in?
Yeah, I got two. Did you read it, the one made for Adam Cannon?
Don't think so, no.
No, so he was basically responding. It was just obviously off the back end of Billy Joe Saunders fighting Canelo. He gives the opinion of, well, you'll see what prime Billy Joe Saunders can do. Let's talk after the fight. Yeah, let's do that. Everyone said this about Tyson Fury before he faced Wilder. Now everyone's Fury's best friend. Don't see anyone on Canelo's record who could beat Billy Joe Saunders. Fucking hell, man. He almost struggled to beat Chris Eubank. Aye. I don't know whether I give this one to Bob Arum or to the actual author of the article, but The Daily Telegraph in Australia, by Jamie Padaram, he's basically kind of obviously jumped straight off the reservation when he spoke to Bob Arum actually about Tyson Fury potentially fighting this cruiserweight kid that's coming up, Jai Opete.
Oh yes.
Did you see that? He's fucking. So basically, he's saying it'll be 20 million to bring Tyson Fury to Australia to fight this kid next year. But if you actually go read the quotes, Bob Arum's actually saying when he finishes in the cruiserweights and turns to the heavyweights, we'll have him fight 2 top heavyweights in the United States. If he comes through that, then we could do it on a Sunday morning, so we'll get the benefit of the pay-per-view in America, and all that sort of stuff. I'm saying to myself, so he's going to have to fucking wipe out a fucking cruiserweight division over the next fucking 9 months, 8 months. What the fuck's he thinking?
Bob doesn't give a shit though, does he, Andy? Come on.
Yeah,
He'll
but
say anything. He's not going to be around to see it.
Yeah, but the article says, next year, Tyson, like, dude, fucking think about what you're writing. Sensationalist bollocks. No wonder the fucking industry's lying in its fucking arse. Jesus Christ. Tyson Fury fights fucking Jai Opete next year in Australia. It's fucking Sunday morning. Fucking can't wait. Oh, by the way, nobody gave him the message. He needs to fucking wipe out like a fucking Dortico, Bredis, fucking Kalenga and all the kids before he can get fucking up to the fight. What a load of shite.
Yep, that's a good nomination. I did see that one, but I hadn't read it out. Thanks to Andy for throwing his in. Are you finished, Andy, anymore?
That's me, mate.
That's him. Rapping Rob Kelly, you always have something meaty to throw in. What have you got for us this week?
No, quiet week this week. I enjoyed the Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren back and forward about who's spoken to Bob Arum. Eddie saying he has spoken to Bob Arum, kind of implying that Frank is out of the loop. Frank is saying it's absolutely lies that he spoke to Bob Arum, so it's great. Great to see that.
Dan Raphael said the same thing.
Him. Oh, Eric Kelly had a good one about Dan Raphael.
Oh, I read that one.
Don't like. I haven't got it to hand, but something along the lines of don't like Dan Raphael.
I'll find out. You must say.
He wants to criticise fighters, but he can't even watch himself. I'll let Andy read it out because it deserves its full glory.
You must say, mate. I need to find it. Absolutely, just skewered them. Eric EK, come on, where are you? Let's see.
I can read another one, Andy, while you're searching if you want.
By the way, mate.
It's an impromptu one, actually.
He got blocked as well, actually. Got blocked as well. Oh, I've got it here. I've never liked Dan Raphael. He has an opinion on professional athletes, and he can't even wash himself good. He can't get up in all those. He can't get up in all them creases and cracks. His arms are too short. He outgrew his skeleton. he'd be smelling sewer like old hand wraps. Ever sit next to him in press row? Question mark. So Dan Raphael apparently smells like old hand wraps. So if you've done a bit of boxing, kids, just remember how your boxing bags smell like. That's
that vinegary smell.
Now we got to scratch it, sniff for the fleece finally.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I always imagined Dan having like an infection smell or something, but I mean, I've never got close enough. There you go. That's probably not a very nice thing to say, but there you go. Said it now.
So EK,
Jesus.
EK then posts up about 10 minutes later. Fucking Dan Raphael with a screenshot. He fucking blocked him.
I tell you, I get where Eric Kelly's coming from with it, because like I'm not an athlete or anything like one, like, but you know, to go to boxing training and stuff, it takes a certain level of dedication. And Adam Smith, his autobiography is actually good. I bought it on a shitty holiday to fucking Turkey one time and had nothing else to read, and I read it. It was quite good, like. But he mentioned that amateur I was talking about last week, Adrian Dodson, was sick of Bean criticising him and asked him to come in the ring and try and hit him. And Bean was like out of breath after like 30 seconds and fucking swinging out of air, and just said he never really criticised fighters again after that. Like, but I'd love to see Dan Raphael just go for a workout with Eric Kelly. That'd be good. Maybe to kind of earn his stripes back, to give his opinion so fucking freely. And like the way he treated fighters like Ward and Regondo and stuff, like just personal grudges against him. He's a real fucking dipshit of a writer. Like, and someone said that he used to have a sock puppet account on one of the old boxing forums, and he used to come on and praise his own work. as a sock puppet.
And then accidentally leave himself logged in as himself.
Yeah, exactly. So and
Yeah, I
gave
saw
himself away. So fuck me, like if that's true, that tells you all you need to know, really, doesn't it? Like
Just go back to big fat dad.
what's
over
that
a
sock
second.
puppet? That Rob Kelly's brilliant. Oh, fucking stay quiet, you will you?
You're boxing stoner to stay humble, aren't you, Rob?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I actually did the hands there myself as well, and we're just talking in the phone.
Here, can we just go back to Darren Raphael for a second here? Just think about what things he could be doing. Like just kind of like get his middle finger and just put it in between one of his crevices and swipe it along his body to pick all the ooze out it and the flint. And then he kind of.
Why are we thinking about this? I don't want to be thinking about this on a fucking Sunday night. Jesus Christ, I got nightmares.
Because EK's just put it out there, man.
Oh man,
He smells like
Fucking hell,
old,
Andy.
he smells like old hand wraps, for Christ's sake. Just think about that smell.
are they
What
Mexican hand wraps or just regular hand wraps?
I want to get back to Ebony Bridges. Think nice thoughts. Let's go back to Ebony Bridges and think.
Big
of Ebony.
sweaty man. I think he's hairy, by the way.
Gabe's not liking this. Here, listen,
fucking
I've got another one I
coconut.
want to throw in. This.
You motherfucker.
Right, Gabe, have you got any to throw in first of all before I put mine in, so to speak? Come on, Gabe. Any nominations?
No, I don't have anything.
Ozzy, anything from you?
No, nothing from me.
Arlene Burley says in the chat, goalie gloves. Yeah, exactly, goalie gloves. That's a smell from the past, isn't it? The old goalkeeper gloves. Right, the one I was going to throw in was, I was reading an article earlier in work from theinsider.com, and they were interviewing Eddie Hearn, and every now and again they interspersed Hearn's comments with comments from a quote-unquote source that they have, which is close to Matchroom. But everything this source says is very positive. So they said, a source with knowledge of Matchroom's business told the Insider that Eddie Hearn is forever trying to get the best talent and add more fighters into his US stable. So that's a bit positive from the source. The source also said that Hearn attempted to sign Tyson Fury a few years ago, and he will pursue anyone he thinks will add something significant to the roster. More quotes from the source coming up, talking about Saunders and Callum Smith. Both have verbally agreed to fight Canelo Alvarez. And finally, the source also mentions that Eddie Hearn is still working to make the biggest fights possible and never rules out working with Top Rank or PBC. The source also told Insider that as soon as Tyson Fury stunned Deontay Wilder with a 7th round finish on February the 22nd, Hearn was straight on the phone to Fury's promoter in the US, Bob Arum, to find out if a huge unification bout with his own client, Anthony Joshua, could be immediately made. So, Bellew of the Week to the Insider for this bullshit source.
Just say it's Frank
Good to
Smith.
see.
We know who it was.
That's what I was thinking.
Just think, aye. And what happens? I can imagine how long that phone call took, baby. Bob Arm. Hey, Eddie boy, listen to me, son. You can go fuck yourself. We're making Pulev against Joshua in fucking London, and I'm bringing there my edibles, and you're gonna fucking like it, you wee dick. Fuck off.
Is that Rabsy Arum?
I kind of like that version of Aaron, to be honest with you.
That's post-stroke, Arum. Right, any other nominations, guys? Right, let's go on then, shall we? I'm going for @reallyniceDerek on Twitter for his interactions with Ebony, the blonde Wilder Bridges. I think that was good work from Derek. Who are you going for, Rob?
No, he was good, him, and I kind of want to go with Callum Smith as well, like, for that fucking statement. Like, who the fuck is Callum Smith to say that? Like, oh my god, the biggest earner in the sport, and he's making demands, is he? Him and Joe. Oh, fucking hell, priceless. But I really want to go for the guy from the LBDC who said he was going to put his own money into getting Deontay a lawyer to have the commission overturn the result of the fight so that he returns in the trilogy as champion. How about that? So that guy is up there. So it's either between him or Callum Smith. But if I can't decide, I could just go for the guy who did the tweet that says Sharon Courtney's coming to get you. You don't want to mess with Sharon. So...
Go some breasts. That's 2 nominations for Really Nice Derek. Who are you going for, Andy?
I really like that Derek one. Like, it's fucking tremendous. Yeah, I'll go for that one.
Oh, there's 3 for Derek. Who
Grow
you going
some
for,
breasts.
Gabe? Grow some breasts. Who you got, Gabe?
My God.
Sorry, I thought I muted myself. I don't know. I like Smith thinking he's gonna get a better payday than the first offer from Canelo. We already know who the winner's gonna be. I'm gonna vote for Smith. He only gave me one fucking offer.
This is the nomination for Callum Smith. It's probably academic. In fact, it is mathematically speaking. Ozzy, who are you going for?
Oh, is it Derek and grow a set of tits? Yeah. So simple yet so amusing.
Great job, congratulations. 4 votes to 1 for Del G at Really Nice Derek over on Twitter, tweeting out to Ebony. Hey Ebony, the blonde Wilder Bridges, just letting you know that you look pretty now and stuff, but as soon as you grow the breasts to come over to the UK and face Sharon Courtney, it will be a very different story. A very different story. Hashtag take on Sharon.
Can't wait. I'm waiting with bated breath like Sharon Stone and Basic Instinct.
Shannon Courtney's going to be disappointed when she's searching the hashtag take on Shannon, because she'll missed out on that, because he's got it wrong, because she inevitably will be searching her own name on Twitter to find out what her fans are saying about her.
There you go, congratulations, take on Sharon. That's my missus. I wouldn't want to take her on a Sunday evening. Better get off the call before I get my bollocks knocked in. Thanks to everybody who's joined us on the call tonight. Everybody in the chat having a great time as well. Andy Patterson's here, Gabe Lewis, no messing about. He's straight off. Ozzy Smith, rapping Rob Kelly. Shout out to Dr. Joseph Ajayo, PhD, THD. Don't be asking. He's been on. He's had his monthly, his 6 monthly phone call. We'll get him on again in the future, no doubt. I've been Steve Wellings. Catch you all again for episode 364. Same time, same place next week. Bye.
Hey.